Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is our basic human right to be forgotten.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Hello, occultists. I am Richard Bigley, and recording remotely with me today, I have
Sage Murray,
Ood Gallifrey,
and our special guest.
Oh, I'm special now, am I? It's Arthur Dallas.
So, on January 31st, 2007, Boston police and fire departments responded to a number of suspicious objects around the city. The first report got to authorities at 8:05 a.m. When a passenger noticed this object. Using a small explosive filled with water, they eliminated the suspicious object, which caused the closure of the Interstate Highway 93, as well as Sullivan Square Station in Boston, Massachusetts. Just after 10 a.m., the explosion rang through the complex. Witnesses described the object as a package with wires, tubes, and circuitry. The object was stuck to a steel support girder under the interstate. TV news helicopters whirled overhead, and at 10:05 a.m., traffic on the I-93 resumed. What was this mysterious package?
Steel support girder is the name of your sex tape.
There we go. So, what's your poison?
What's your poison?
What's your poison?
Oi, mate, what's your poison, eh?
Is that racist? It might upset our Australian listeners or English listeners. I don't know.
I think anything.
That might upset them if you can't know the difference between them.
That's probably worse.
I guess so.
I hear Scots are considered English.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There we go.
I'm sorry, people from Scotland. You know I don't think that's true. You know, fight the force. You got it.
You're a redhead, right?
I am. I'm part Scottish. You know, internalized. Yeah.
So I ran upstairs before this episode and grabbed myself a nice original 16 Canadian Pale Ale. I drink this a lot, and I'm sure I've done it on a poison for a number of times, but, you know, you just can't, you know, if something's working for you, don't try to fix it. And so it's my 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm still drinking Cardboard O, which is some sort of Merlot from a box. It's fantastic.
Did you get a second cardboard dough out, or are you finishing off?
Yes, No, I had to get a second Cardboard O out. It's the same kind.
Yeah.
She had to empty the bladder and the wine bladder.
Yes,
maybe her actual bladder too, but also the
yes,
wine.
I did. I somehow lost the phone call, so I don't know what's going on. So I had to cover the mic while I was peeing.
I didn't hear a thing. So
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Just hear a big flush, and Sage's screen pops up on the Hangouts chat.
Hello.
I would think you're so badass if you just went to the bathroom and had big hangover shits live on air, and you were just no, you know what? Fuck you guys. This is life.
Don't tempt me. I'll record it tomorrow and send it to you.
We could auto-tune.
Oh, God.
Join our page.
Just imagining.
For little as $1 a month, you too can have auto-tuned hangover shits.
You could auto-tune it to Star Spangled Banner or something, right?
Okay, I already have very little sex appeal. I need to hold on to what I have.
I'm just imagining for a call to Dennis.
Ugh, I guess enough.
Yeah. You think we're done at cum brownies? We got all kinds of ideas.
No.
I don't know. I'm drinking Red Bull because I wanted coffee, but cold, and I don't know. I guess I'm sure the listeners realize that it's a bit of a logistical issue to have like themed drinks. When we do live episodes again, we can, do it party style and bring enough drinks for everybody and all that. But it's hard to get drinks out to everybody when we're all hiding in shelter here.
Exactly. We mean well.
Yeah.
I've got the same drink I had last episode, which might be a later episode. Who even knows? It's Saskatchewan-made Earl Grey tea gin, and I'm going to light some incense.
Oh, look at you! You're just making like a fancy addition.
Yeah. I was conditioned to like gin. I hated gin until I dated somebody that loved gin, and then I loved gin.
All right, I guess that's our poison for the day.
Yep.
Okay, carrying on with the episode. So, the Cartoon Network is an American cable TV channel. It started in 1992, and they are still going. The programming is generally targeted, for the most part, at children, kind of age 7 to 15. The network featured some original programming, such as like Dexter's Laboratory, not to be confused with Dexter the serial killer. Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, Johnny Bravo, the Powerpuff Girls. Those are all original Cartoon Network shows.
Thank you very much.
Excellent show.
Exactly. Johnny Bravo. That was my favorite. I just really loved the Johnny Bravo. And there was like a Scooby-Doo Johnny Bravo crossover episode, which was pretty fucking sweet too. I was really excited for that crossover.
Insert clip here. I'm sure that's on YouTube.
Hi there. My car just broke down, and I was wondering if you guys could give me a lift. I'm on my way to visit my Aunt Jebediza, and I'd sure hate to be late. She lives in this spooky house up on Widow's Peak.
Spooky house? Jinkies!
Jinkies?
Hey, gang, what do you say we give this guy a lift?
Jinkies?
Hop in, stranger. Don't worry, I don't bite.
Does she? Oh.
Hey, Scoob, dig this guy's crazy hairdo.
Yeah.
There were also some anime shows, kind of later on in the day that were sort of targeted to like teenagers after school. In September 2nd, 2001, they launched kind of a late night block of TV shows called Adult Swim. The idea is that it would be adult themed TV when these targeted 7 to 15-year-old kids were tucked in nice and cozy and had drifted off the dreamland. Young adults and older adults would have some cartoon shows to watch themselves. Kind of seeing the success, based on other cartoons that were like, more geared towards, older people, for example, like Simpsons, South Park, Beavis and Butthead, Daria, that kind of thing. They figured they'd take a shot at their own for their original programming. So as part of their Adult Swim programming block, on September 9th, 2001, they premiered the show Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yes!
The show chronicles the adventures of 3 cartoon fast food items, a milkshake, an order of fries, and a ball of meat. They all live together and deal with their next-door neighbor, a human named Carl, and this went on for 11 seasons, spawning 139 episodes, with the last episode airing on August 30th, 2015.
I'm going to have to legally obtain a whole bunch of those episodes, because I haven't watched those in years.
You'll have to put on the VPN.
Yes, I think so. Yes, the VPN's good for legal attainment of episodes.
The show featured other assorted cartoon characters, 2 of which were Einignacht and These were aliens who live in the center of the moon. They are two-dimensional, like literally two-dimensional. You can actually see one of the aliens like turns around and he's just like a flat pane. So they're two-dimensional. One is green and larger. The other is a smaller pink one. They look sort of pixelated, sort of bullet-shaped. And yeah, so that's kind of that. They think themselves to be, superior to anyone on Earth. They claim to be superior because they can jump really high and are excellent spellers. So I will roll this clip here. I'll actually give you the link to it for post-production so you can actually put it in on good, in a good quality.
They're from the moon!
You rented that room to moon people?
We are the Moonanites, and our culture is advanced beyond all that you can possibly comprehend with 100% of your brain.
Oh, is that so? And what's so advanced about it?
Well, for one thing, the moon has 1/3 less gravity than your Earth. I don't know if you can understand that, but our vertical leap is beyond all measurement.
So what you're saying is your culture is more advanced because you can jump higher?
Yes, observe. It's not working here.
Don't try to understand them. They're beyond everything. Isn't that right, Eggnog?
Looks like you got yourself a real couple of winners there, Shake.
You and your 3rd dimension.
What about it?
Oh, nothing. It's cute. We have 5.
1,000.
Yes, 5,000.
Don't question it.
Oh, yeah? Well, I only see 2.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem.
So that's kind of the gist of the character. So
they're just blindly arrogant about their Moonanite superiority.
That's right, just blindly arrogant about their superiority. So anyway, in 2005, it was announced that there would be a movie made by the Cartoon Network based on these characters. Details would eventually come out. It was called Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie film. Like it actually, it's spelled like it's a colon, but like it's actually, you pronounce the colon in the title, I guess. So movie film for theaters. Yes, they also specify that it is a film for theaters as well in the title. So it would end up being an 80-minute film, and they would produce it for $750,000. So like $750,000, as in not even $1 million. And they would be producing this movie. It eventually came out on April 10th, 2007, and the film would make $5.5 million. So, I mean, given they spent less than $1 million and would make $5.5 million out of it, I mean, that's a pretty solid investment, I think.
No kidding.
Yeah, so now I know what y'all are thinking. Bigley, what's that got to do with your podcast pre-poison presentation about problematic panic at the place of the Pats? Well, I'm getting there.
Damn.
I rehearsed that over and over and over. It was great.
Show is well done.
I know. All my hair stood up. It was intense.
Alliteration is fantastic.
Oh, yes.
To promote the upcoming release of this film, the Cartoon Network hired the marketing company Interference Incorporated. So Interference Incorporated sent 40 LED signs featuring like a little LED light up Moonanite giving the middle finger to a local artist in Boston. His name was Peter Berdovsky, but his kind of street name is Zebler. So Zebler goes out with his buddy Sean Stevens, and they throw all these signs up. They got paid $300 each to do this. So these signs, they kind of were about 1 square foot. They were powered by batteries, and they had magnetic backing so they could stick to, kind of anything metal. So, it looked sort of like they made a cartoon character on a light bright. You know what a light bright is, right? Like, I'm not old.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
And for the listeners out there that don't know what it is, it's a bunch of clear little pegs, and when you put them into this pegboard, lights light up behind it, and the little clear pegs had different hues, they're different colors, and you can make all kinds of pictures and art with that.
Yeah, kind of like pre-pixel art pixels, like analog pixel art, I guess, not digital pixel
That's a good
art,
way of putting it.
where each little peg was like a plastic pixel that you'd put in on a background, and behind the background was like an incandescent light that would shine forward, so it would illuminate these clear colored plastic pegs, which are kind of like pixels in today's artistic era. Anyway, so that's sort of what it looked like. So in the middle of January, they put up 20 signs, and then Zebler and Stevens called this Boston Mission 1. And then on January 29th, near the end of January, they executed what they called Boston Mission 2 and put up another 18 of these little Moonanite light bright LED signs, including the one that was found on the interstate.
Damn, they've netted about if $300 a sign, that's $11,400 so far.
I'm not sure if it was $300 a sign or if it was $300 each, as in meaning each of them got paid $300 to put up these signs.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't quite clear on how they got compensated, but I'm willing to bet it's probably just $300 to put up all these signs.
I mean, would you not do that for $300?
Yeah,
I would.
I sure as I would.
Well, fuck yeah. I mean, you're a street artist, or you're in art school or whatever, and $300 is $300, man. So the morning of January 31st, a friend of Zebler's contacts him and tells him that there was a bomb threat at Sullivan Square Transit Station. Zebler grabs his camera and heads out to the scene. Now, here's kind of interesting, because Zebler's lawyer states that at this point, Zebler did not know that it was involving one of his devices. So, I don't know. What do you think? Do you figure he should have known or would have known? A friend calls you and says, hey, there's a bomb scare. Now, innocently enough, do you just grab your camera and go check it out? Is that a thing people do?
If I'm an artist, I would.
You think if you were an artist, you'd go see a bomb scare, and not realizing it had to do with the device you had planted, day or two prior?
I mean, this is also the artist who took a $300 commission to plant light bright aliens all over Boston. So, yeah, I
guess so. Yeah. Just that kind of off the wall sort of guy that would just go off and check out the bomb threat.
Yeah, it's like when someone says, hey, there's been a train derailment, and you're like, let me put it on my good phones.
Of course. So anyway, his lawyer says that he arrives at the scene, saw what was going on, and went back to his apartment to give his boss at Interference a call to tell him, hey, your thing is causing a bomb scare. And so anyway, Zebler talks to his boss, and they say, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. Surveillance cameras caught Zebler videotaping officers removing the electronic sign. Zebler did not tell the police what it was and that it was harmless. So my thoughts on that, it's do you figure that that's right? Would you have told the police if you knew what it was? To me, I'm thinking, I'm on his side with not talking to the cops, because I really don't think anything Zebler would have said would have changed the police response to the situation, and could have actually put Zebler at risk if the police saw him as a threat. So,
hey,
think about
my
it.
bomb.
You know, like you think you're a trained explosion expert and you're on the clock responding to this danger. The interstate's closed, the bus station's shut down, helicopters are whirling around all over, and some dude just comes up to you and says, hey, don't worry about this, it's mine. You don't know if he's telling the truth. You don't know if he's safe or if he's a terrorist. You have to make decisions for the safety of yourself and everyone else around you, with the information you have. So, you sure as shit wouldn't let this unknown man anywhere near that device.
Oh, no kidding.
About 8:05 a.m., police say a passenger finds a suspicious package under I-93 by the Sullivan Square T-stop. 93 North and the Orange Line shut down for a good 2 hours. Until the bomb squad detonates a device they say looks like a circuit board but isn't explosive. It ruined people's commutes and created quite a scene.
As I was coming down the side street, I heard one of it must have been an officer or maybe one of the bomb squad people say fire in the hole.
And then?
And I heard a detonation.
A few hours later and a few miles away, police detonate another suspicious package, this one under the Longfellow Bridge. Cars are kept off it and red line service between Boston and Cambridge comes to a halt.
That's very scary. Now you have me thinking if I should go on the red line.
Sky 7 now showing you some of the episodes this afternoon where police went location by location with the bomb squad to check out these so-called magnetic signs, lights, promoting this show on one of the Turner Broadcasting network, or rather, I believe it's
the Cartoon Network under Turner Broadcasting.
So it's been a very busy afternoon for police, and this afternoon, shortly after 4 o'clock, there was a news conference that the command center set up at Boston Police.
Looking now, you see a map of all the different devices found around the city, from the Longfellow Bridge to the New England Medical Center, from Stewart and Columbus Street in the south end to the first device found at Sullivan Square in Somerville. At times, of course, those devices being found and police responding, it paralyzed the city.
I'm gagged that someone somehow shimmied his way up there and put this bright light thing up there, and we all just kind of laughed about it. But we're all a little upset because you're defacing the Fenway Park. But at the same time, no one ever thought anything serious of it till today.
Obviously no threat, but police are keeping us at quite a distance right now. Again, another one of these electronic cartoons found right there at Gate C. We're not sure what is going to be happening, if that is going to be coming down within the next hour or so. We're, of course, standing by for any developments, but as you know, no threat here on Lansdowne Street.
Now we know this was just a bad publicity stunt and not a scary, suspicious package. Still, people prefer the city be vigilant than take any chances.
He has photographs documenting 17 sites where the devices were planted and later found. At the tops of buildings, under bridges, at Fenway Park, all across the city. This little creature that lights up in the dark and makes an obscene gesture is on his website. It was also found over the entryway to a comic book store in Alston.
It looked like the Moonanites, made out of little lights like a light bright.
Okay, Moonanite. Little lights like a light bright.
Like a light bright. They weren't lit up now, but they lit up at night, which is why they had the battery pack to light up.
Battery pack on?
It had a battery pack, and that's what made everybody nervous, because they equate battery packs and wires and such with bombs.
No, so I mean, I kind of side with Zebler not telling the police because, like I said, if they thought he was a threat, well, he could, it could have escalated to something much more terrible. And if they, and like I said, even if he took responsibility for it at the scene, I really don't think that they would have done anything different. They probably still would have detonated the bomb to knock the device out and, and carried on.
I mean, and like,
yeah, exactly.
That's assuming like the police in this case were like, acting morally and not just like looking for somebody to pin it on and stuff like that, which sometimes police are very motivated to find somebody to pin it on. Like, look at the Central Park 5. One of those boys got incriminated into that case simply because a police officer like pretty much told him like, "Hey, your buddy's going down to the station. Do you want to go down to the station with him?" And that's how he was brought into the case and eventually falsely imprisoned. So like, putting yourself out like a sore thumb, saying like, "Hey, that like Arthur said,
it's my bomb. Don't worry about it." No, it's no. So good rule, always the best rule. Don't ever talk to cops. There's nothing you can say at any point to a cop that'll ever help you. So just don't talk
Yep.
to them.
Ask for your lawyer.
Yep. Ask for your lawyer. So Zebler goes home, chats up with his boss, and then after his boss says, "Yeah, don't worry about it. We got this," he then emails some friends and says that his boss told his friends to keep everything on the down low. And so anyway, after they blow this one up at 10 a.m. and reopen the interstate at, I guess, 10:05, the police start receiving reports of other devices. One at 12:54 p.m., which was similar in description to the first device. Then there was another device reported at 1:02 p.m. By a hospital where they were reporting a pipe bomb. Investigation later found this to be unrelated to these devices which were being used for advertising. It was actually a pipe bomb. Well, it wasn't like actually a pipe bomb, but it was a device designed to resemble a pipe bomb for the purpose of like freaking people out and making them think they're in danger. So that, but it was unrelated to anything Zebler had done. So additional reports were coming in about more similar signs featuring the Moonanite. Police were investigating the meaning and origin of this cartoon character, and at around 4:30 p.m., the Boston Police Department were contacted by representatives from Interference, who are taking responsibility for this campaign. At 4:51 p.m., Turner Broadcasting representatives were also contacting the police and were taking responsibility as they hired Interference Incorporated. So, you know, the ad campaign and the network had both contacted the police later on that day and took responsibility for placing these devices. Meanwhile, throughout the day, a number of state, municipal, and federal organizations, such as the Secret Service, the FBI, the Transit Police, etc., were getting ready in case they needed resources for a much larger response. Zebler was arrested later that day, and Sean Stevens, his buddy, was also arrested. They were charged with placing a hoax device and disorderly conduct. The following day, the Boston Police Commissioner shoots out a communique to his staff, commending them on their response and for acting, as they were trained to do, and referred to this as a, quote, misguided publicity stunt caused by, quote, some sort of hoax device. And basically, congratulated the officers and said, they responded to the situation presented as efficiently and effectively as you had been trained.
Ouch!
So the memo also spoke to the circumstances of the day that led to the response that it did to the police effort. Basically, everybody was kind of making fun of Boston and the police force and everything else for how they responded to this supposed threat, and they kind of like outlined some of the reasons for it. So leading up to this, there were several arrests of terrorists in Britain that day. Homeland Security had also reported on several incidents to the police force, one involving a suspicious package in Washington, D.C., that ended up closing a metro station, and another incident of a package at a New York post office, which was emitting strange fumes, also, causing concerns about possible terrorist issues. So then the appearance of these light-up signs, certainly kind of added to the situation that day. Turner Broadcasting Chair Phil Kent saying in a written statement, we apologize to the citizens of Boston that part of our marketing campaign was mistaken for a public danger. We deeply regret the hardships experienced as a result of this incident. These signs had been in place already for 2 or 3 weeks in some places in Boston, New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, Seattle, Portland, Austin, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. So they already been up for weeks in various other cities, and Boston just happened to be the one where they thought they were potentially a bomb. So Turner Broadcasting contacted the various authorities of these cities and told them of the locations of their signs and that they were harmless. Boston Mayor Thomas Menino said that the hoax cost the state and the city $750,000 and called on Turner Broadcasting to pay for it all. So here's a quote from the mayor. I wish I could throw up like a good New England accent or whatever, but I can't. So use your
Try
magic.
it. You gotta try. No, you gotta try it. Do it.
I don't know. Aren't accents like racist or something?
It's just
Not
Boston.
in New
No one
England.
cares with them.
Oh, sorry to the 2 people who listen in Boston. So it is outrageous in a post 9/11 world that a company would use this type of marketing scheme. I am prepared to take any and all legal action against Turner Broadcasting and its affiliates for any and all expenses incurred during the response to today's incidents. Boston will look to coordinate our efforts going forward with Cambridge, Somerville, and any other affected agencies.
That was definitely not an accent. You should have said marketing scheme.
Marketing. I can't find my khakis.
Khakis.
Looking for my khakis.
Boston.
Boston. Khakis.
New England.
So on February 2nd, Turner Broadcasting accepted blame and promised restitution. February 5th, to settle any and all civil or criminal liabilities against the companies of Turner Broadcasting and Interference, they agreed to pay $2 million to the affected parties. $1 million going to reimburse for the emergency response that day, and then an additional $1 million they paid to Homeland Security just because to help fund their anti-terror programs. So then February 9th, Jim Samples, executive vice president of the Cartoon Network, stepped down, saying, I deeply regret the negative publicity and expense caused to our company as a result of this campaign. As general manager of the Cartoon Network, I feel compelled to step down, effective immediately, in recognition of the gravity of the situation that occurred under my watch.
That's very sad.
Yeah,
and ridiculous.
Well, I mean, if you're in charge, you should kind of know what the people around you are doing. And
yeah, I guess.
I guess in the aftermath, bloggers and media responded to this event, talking about overreaction. Some people called this an embarrassment for Boston. Many citizens in Boston also found the incident to be very funny. The Boston Globe reported that this exposed a, quote, wide generation gap. Some of the devices had been up for 2 weeks prior to the scare, and there was a radio host, John O'Brien, and he had said that they, meaning the devices, were also placed in Boston over 2 weeks ago. I don't think the terrorism officials in Boston are very observant. Good thing September 11 didn't happen here. We wouldn't have found it until September 20.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
Somebody manufactured a bunch of stickers that read, "Don't panic. This is not a bomb. Do not be afraid. Do not call the police. Stop letting the terrorists win." And these stickers started showing up all over anything that was accessible to public, so like parking meters, ATMs, etc. So, I guess, what do you guys think with regards to the response? Was it overblown? Do you think it was proper, given the what was going on at the time? What do you guys think?
It was super overblown.
I think it was kind of overblown, yes.
I don't know.
It's
hard. How do you run a city? How do you run a space where people live? If you have a suspicion that something might be an explosive, you have to take it seriously, especially when there's reports of these things all over your city. I'm trying to give these guys as much benefit of the doubt as I can, and when I'm looking at a picture of this thing, I'm seeing a line of big batteries. What are those called? Those big size batteries that are the size. Yeah,
D-cells.
big D-cell batteries, and those are exposed. You can see them right away. And they connect directly to a circuit board that's also exposed. So it looks like a bunch of exposed wiring. I mean, it looks like bombs from the movies. And it even has a very, like, movie-like fuck you middle finger. Like, maybe these... Like, I could see how somebody could come to the conclusion, like, oh, these terrorists built a bunch of bombs and they made it artistic to say fuck you to who they explode. Like, I can see people taking that, like, movie logic into reality, and, like, the police, even if it's, like, a 1% chance, having to take that seriously. Because what if that 1% chance is right and it turns out to be a bomb, you know?
Well, what if they did blow up, and then everybody would be saying, well, why didn't the authorities do nothing? And they're like, well, we thought it was a cartoon character on that show. You know, like, it's... I get it. You know, you find a strange device attached to a piece of infrastructure and nobody knows shit all about it. I get it. I mean, this happened like 5 years after 9/11. So, like, you know, people are still hurting. People are still on edge. You know, you have these Homeland Security reports from the day, you know, about a suspicious package in New York and a suspicious package in D.C. England just arrested a bunch of terrorists, you know, so it just sort of seems like everything kind of led to this, like, perfect storm. And it's not like, you know, Aqua Teen Hunger Force is like, you know, a classical cartoon that everybody can recognize, you know, like a Bugs Bunny character or Homer Simpson.
I don't know, but, like, I guess, like, I agree that the response, I don't know, maybe it was overblown, like, but I think it was necessary. Like, I think some response was necessary, and the part where I start to disagree is all the punishments that came afterwards, all the charges that were landed. I'm okay with the big parent company, like, paying for the cost of the scare. Like, fine, some corporation gets charged the bill because it was their art campaign. I'm okay with that. But, like, artists going to jail? Like, they were trying to be artistic. They weren't trying to make a bomb. Like, I don't think they were trying to cause a panic. They were trying to fulfill their order and, like, do it a little differently. Like, they went a little steampunk with it, you know?
Yeah. So perhaps I think the actual embarrassment for Boston was about a month after this happened, when the Boston bomb squad received a report of a suspicious device on Devonshire Street. It was attached to like a street light or a traffic light or something like that, this suspicious device. And so they detonated this device, you know, as you do when you're the bomb squad. And turns out the device that they blew up was a city-owned and deployed traffic counter.
Nice. See, and this is where I think it's overblown. Yeah, if you think something's bad, blow it up. Fine, whatever. Like, that's what has to happen. If it's just a backpack full of books and it gets exploded, don't leave your backpack under a park bench. Like, that's fine. It's the mayor going ahead and going, I want this company to pay millions of dollars because they did an art. You know, what if someone says, hey, this Banksy over here is actually a bomb, and they blow up a building, and like, well, Banksy should pay for it. It's like, well, no.
And, like, this has batteries and exposed wiring. Like, almost any electronic device can resemble that. Like, I don't know, like, it's almost playing off people's perceptions of bombs, like what a bomb could look like. And, like, that's what got them in so much hot water is I think, like, there's enough bombs that look like this in media that, like, it'll cause a legitimate scare. But, like, should people's perceptions of what a bomb looks like warrant punishment for artists trying to portray this, you know? I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know where I draw the line on this.
Well, I mean, maybe
really weird.
blowing up your own traffic counter might be a bit extreme, you know, infrastructure, you know, Boston infrastructure department's trying to, like, count how many cars go on this road, and then the fucking bomb squad shows up and blows it up. Like, I don't know. That's perhaps maybe the real embarrassment to come
I just imagine the city maintenance guy, like, he installed it that morning, and maybe he's, like, driving home and all that, and he sees, like, his, like, traffic counter just surrounded by police, and he just, like, slow slips on what's left of his coffee. He's like, yep, off the clock, not my problem.
Well, like, and
Fuck it.
Forget about it.
So there's my question there is like, since it was an internal agent, but it was a different department, like, do you think that they went to infrastructure and said, hey, I need you to pay us the, $100,000 it cost to blow up your traffic counter?
This also had small and had a wire connecting to it. It looked like a bomb. Like, oh,
Well, I mean, it all probably comes out of the same bank account anyway at the end of the day, the taxpayer.
How are my highly trained bomb squad members supposed to differentiate a bomb and the traffic counter? Like, we can't pay for that shit. Are you kidding me?
Oh, it's a traffic count. Oh, a bomb. Oh, I saw one on my way to work today on the other street. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
The swarm of bomb squads rolling out across the city, blowing up every traffic counter.
I would hate to be the mayor when that call comes in. They're what? With one of ours? Oh fuck! Really? After that dumb cartoon ordeal? Oh no!
Oh, son of a bitch!
God
I, as the
damn
mayor,
it.
will step down because I ordered the city to place those traffic counters. One of my subordinates did, but I alone am responsible in the end. I tricked the city into thinking their traffic counter was a bomb. I'm going to pay myself millions of dollars in restitution. I am sorry.
So, anyway, moving onward, back to Zebler. Zebler and Stevens end up pleading not guilty to the charges. Now, here's the fun part. I don't know if fun's the word. Interesting. Fun, interesting, quirky. I don't know. The nature Funteresting. The nature of a bomb hoax charge means that the prosecutor needs to prove an intent to scare and cause panic and fear using their hoax bomb. So they were charged with hoax. And so now it is up to the prosecutor to prove that they had intended to cause panic and fear using this hoax bomb in order to, successfully, in court, convict these people with that charge. Anyway, the judge kind of looked at the case and said to the prosecutor that it doesn't seem like there was any intent to cause fear or panic by Zebler and his friends. But if they wanted to have that, put forth their case, they could take the matter to trial. So anyway, after their bail hearing, Zebler and Stevens held a live press conference. They had received legal advice to not discuss the case at all. So they spent the entire press conference discussing and inviting the press to question or ask them questions about hairstyles of the 1970s. And any questions that they were presented with regards to the bomb scare, they just ignored and would only answer questions regarding to the hairstyles of 1970s.
I think my dreadlocks are pretty nice, and they're gonna keep growing for a little while. Maybe they'll reach my knees or something. I don't know. I'm getting sort of more due to get a haircut because getting my bangs now.
I've advised them not to talk about what happened.
How do you feel right now? I feel like my hair is pretty perfect, but altogether I want to redirect this onto the topic of haircuts in the 70s because I want to educate myself about it a little bit more than I know already.
We saw them laughing in court. We've seen their appearance now.
What other haircuts are there?
Prosecutors
there's the 60s. Yeah, I really like the one where the hair sort of curls around to the front.
Oh
yeah, that's very so hot.
They've taken the case very seriously. As I said, they've been advised not to speak about the case.
Have they been advised to act like they're not taking this seriously?
We're taking this very seriously. We've already
What
was it like to spend
when there was a widespread panic and disruption to commuters yesterday,
the police
and it cost them nearly $1 million to Boston.
Yeah, I really feel like we're not getting the feedback. Yeah, we're not getting the feedback that we need from you guys. If you really want to talk to us, please talk to us about the topic. I'm very disappointed. Yeah.
What was it like to spend last night in jail?
That's not a hair question. I'm sorry.
What are you disappointed about?
That's also not a hair question.
Do you feel like you're left alone in court today because Turner didn't bring anyone?
That's also not a hair question.
Mr. Rich, are you embarrassed by your client's behavior?
My client is a performance artist. And
so are we being subject to a performance right now, Mr. Rich?
That's your call.
Are you afraid that if you go to prison, you'll get your hair cut?
That's a very good question. I think the laws in this country are still pretty comfy as to that. I think they will, whatever happens, I feel like my hair is safe at the moment. So any other hair questions are definitely welcome.
Hair today, gone tomorrow. Do you worry that any sympathy for overreaction that people might have is being wasted right now? And people might be sympathetic thinking the authorities overreacted and you're treating this like a joke. Is there any worry that you'll
Seriously,
waste that sympathy?
What I'm wondering right now is whether or not the Beatles' hairstyle, did it actually go into the 70s or was it all stuck in the 60s? Did it abruptly end? And when did the hippie blonde hairstyle come to be?
And what was with this mohawk and these huge 80s hair with all
80s
of the hair
was,
gel?
was such an overreaction.
How did that come from the 70s? Was that some sort of overcompensation from the fact that people were like living fast and loose?
Mr. Rich, you got to understand, your clients aren't generating much sympathy with either the press or the public with their attitude.
And they may have had it before now, but who knows?
The sympathy will come from what really happened and who these people are.
The fact is, it cost the city, according to Boston, over $1 million to respond to these incidents yesterday. And now we're playing it up with hair questions and jokes. There is a serious element to what happened yesterday.
And if you don't like what you're seeing here, why don't you leave the guys alone?
And then on May 11th, because of the nature of having to prove intent, the criminal charges were dropped against Zebler and Stevens, and the matter did not actually go to trial. However, in exchange, Zebler and Stevens had to do some community service and make a public apology. Other interesting aftermath. The first episode of season 5 of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which was supposed to air in January of 2008. So like, a year following this this scare, was titled Boston. They were going to satirize the whole affair, but then kind of reflecting on the matter and kind of not wanting to cause any other concerns or further controversy or other shit or other issues, they decided not to air the episode after all. So it has never been publicly released.
I bet South Park would have done it.
However, it was that's kind of the thing is South Park would have been like, fuck yeah, we're totally doing this and get the lawyers on standby and go. But like, I guess the Aqua Teen Hunger Force crew didn't quite feel that was their style. So they just didn't air the episode. But interestingly enough, on the season 5 DVD sleeve, it has the Moonanite Einignacht dressed up as Osama bin Laden. And then there was an incomplete version of the episode that accidentally got leaked online. So you can Google for it, and I'm sure you will have no problem finding it.
Everyone stand back! Hold your positions! On my count! 3, 2,
Hey, who put these wires
1.
on my dome?
Okay, alright, let's all calm down. Boston is safe now.
But we're in New Jersey.
New Jersey is near Boston. And now they're both safe. Also, no one is safe.
Is he gonna be all right?
He's alright now. He was a bomb, remember?
Ooh, thank goodness. Because I thought that was our neighbor car.
Well, in a post 9/11 world, things aren't always what they appear to be.
What's going on? What'd I miss?
Oh my god, it's a bomb! Put down the stairway and walk away! Everyone stand back a second time! On my mark, cut the chatter! 3, 2, 1! Oh no! He was the bomb! Not the sandwich!
Have you seen the leaked episode?
Oh fuck! After writing this episode, like, to be honest, I've never watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force like ever.
So good.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm planning to download it eventually once I get my house put back together. But yeah, I watched the leaked episode after writing this, and I was like, oh my god, this is so funny because like Meatwad climbs up to the top of a bridge and he like puts himself under a girder and they like stick a bunch of Christmas lights to him so that people can see him and fuck it was so funny.
See, when I was just like silently clicking through to see if I could find anything funny, and the best part is when they cut to being in front of Carl's house because there's a light bright in front of his house. They blow up Carl. Oh, it's so
He's a
good.
He's a bomb. And so, I guess to kind of wrap the matter up, in 2014, Zebler was later hired by the city of Boston to put together a light show for the city's New Year's celebrations. He was paid $50,000 to do this. Boston Mayor Thomas M. Menino, the same mayor who presided over the 2007 bomb scare, was asked about his choice to hire Zebler for this celebration. And he said, we're a forgiving city. I don't know. Was that New England enough? Was that maybe a bit too
I'll allow
gross?
it.
And then a lone bomb tech
was an
sitting in
attempt.
the drive-thru for the coffee shop looks at the light show and drops his coffee cup. Is that a bomb?
So there you have it. We've got, so at the end of the day, it's a happy ending and, nobody had to die. It's my Moonanite Panic episode. Let me know what you think. No one ever talks about my episodes, so send us some comments or inquiries, outbursts. Please reach out. Let me know if I'm making good episodes or if my episodes are shitty or if you're like, oh God, it's a Bigley episode, and you just skip to the next one. I don't know. Just let me know. Write ovfeedback@gmail.com.
We really do want feedback.
Please? Thank you.
Hill, you sound really needy, and I really like your episodes.
I need affirmation. I need that, I just crave that, just to be acknowledged and to be like, yeah, you know what, man, you're doing all right. I like your show. I like your episodes. That sort of thing.
Hill, I tell you to fuck off a lot, but I do like your episodes.
And it cuts me to the core when you do that.
No, it doesn't. Go fuck yourself.
Whatever, bitch.
Oh, the love in this room is palatable. Yeah. No, I do like your episodes, man. Just like Leon add a little something, just like Sage add a little something, just like I add a little something. You bring up cases that the rest of us never would have been interested in or brought up ourselves.
So yeah, nobody died. It's a happy ending episode. I figure it's the kind of levity we need from currently being in the depths of a global pandemic. So there you go.
Beautiful.
Have fun.
That's fair.
And so for Occultae Veritatis, I am Richard Bigley.
Food Gallifrey.
Sage Murray.
And our special remote guest
is our
Have a wonderful day.
Good night.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Playing us out this episode is the voice of an activist in Miami, singing with fellow activists as they walk the street, demonstrating against police brutality. See you in the after show.
Mama, mama, can't you see? Mama, mama, can't you see? What the state has done to me. What the state has done to me. They keep trying to shoot us down. They keep trying to shoot us down. So now we're marching into town. Now we're marching into town. Mama, mama, tell me why. Mama, mama, tell me why. Why did Floyd have to die? Why did Floyd have to die? They keep trying to shoot us down. They keep trying to shoot us down. So now we're marching into town. Now we're marching into town. Mama, mama, can't you see? Mama, mama, can't you see? What the state has done to me. What the state has done to me. They keep trying to shoot us down. So now we're marching into town. Now we're marching into town. Mama, mama, tell me why. Mama, mama, tell me why. Why Brianna had to die. Why Brianna had to die. They keep trying to shoot us down. They keep trying to shoot us down. So now we're marching into town. So now we're marching into town. Mama, mama, tell me why. Mama, mama, tell me why. Why did Brianna have to die? Why did Brianna have to die? They keep trying to keep us down. They keep trying to keep us down. Now we're marching in the town. Now we're marching in the town. Mama, mama, can't you see? Mama, mama, can't you see?
So this after show is going to be more about the current events that are happening now, because I believe those conversations have to keep on happening. This is a battle of hearts and minds, this one. We have to win people over. We have to convince them. We have to make more people leftists. We have to convince more people that there's a problem worth having. And one of the big hurdles surrounding that is this is a very complicated, multifaceted issue. Without knowing a lot of the events of history and, like, the attitudes and biases that led up to certain things, it's hard to discuss systemic racism as an entire issue without going into those little things. So for the after show here, I want to play something by Kimberly L. Jones. She is a black author, activist, director, and in this little 6-minute clip that I'm about to play for you, she explains the history and the background of a lot of these issues and how it leads up to the demonstrations that are happening today. And she puts it so much more succinctly than I ever could. So, take it away, Kimberly.
So, I've been seeing a lot of things talking about people making commentary. Interestingly enough, the ones I've noticed that have been making the commentary are wealthy black people, making the commentary about we should not be rioting, we should not be looting, we should not be tearing up our own communities. And then there's been an argument of the other side of we should be hitting them in the pocket. We should be focusing on the blackout days where we don't spend money. But, you know, I feel like we should do both. And I feel like I support both. And I'll tell you why I support both. I support both because when you have a civil unrest like this, there are three types of people in the streets. There are the protesters, there are the rioters, and there are the looters. The protesters are there because they actually care about what is happening in the community. They want to raise their voices, and they are there strictly to protest. You have the rioters who are angry, who are anarchists, who really just want to fuck shit up, and that's what they're going to do regardless. And then you have the looters. And the looters almost exclusively are just there to do that, to loot. Now, people are like, well, what did you gain? Well, what did you get from looting? I think that as long as we're focusing on the what, we're not focusing on the why, and that's my issue with that. As long as we're focusing on what they're doing, we're not focusing on why they're doing. And some people are like, well, those aren't people who are legitimately angry about what's happening. Those are people who just want to get stuff. Okay, well then, let's go with that. Let's say that's what it is. Let's ask ourselves why in this country in 2020, the financial gap between poor blacks and the rest of the world is at such a distance that people feel like their only hope and only opportunity to get some of the things that we flaunt and flash in front of them all the time is to walk through a broken glass window and get it. That they are so hopeless that getting that necklace, getting that TV, getting that change, getting that bed, getting that phone, whatever it is that they're going to get, is that in that moment when the riots happen and if they present an opportunity of looting, that's their only opportunity to get it. We need to be questioning that why. Why are people that poor? Why are people that broke? Why are people that food insecure, that clothing insecure, that they feel like their only shot, that they are shooting their shot by walking through a broken glass window to get what they need. And then people want to talk about, well, there's plenty of people who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and got it on their own. Why can't they do that? Let me explain to you something about economics in America. And I'm so glad that as a child, I got an opportunity to spend time at Push where they taught me this, is that we must never forget that economics was the reason that black people were brought to this country. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Do you understand that? That's what we came to do. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Now, if I right now decided that I wanted to play Monopoly with you. And for 400 rounds of playing Monopoly, I didn't allow you to have any money. I didn't allow you to have anything on the board. I didn't allow for you to have anything. And then we played another 50 rounds of Monopoly, and everything that you gained and you earned while you were playing that round of Monopoly was taken from you. That was Tulsa. That was Rosewood. Those are places where we built Black economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned our stores, where we owned our property, and they burned them to the ground. So that's 450 years. So for 400 rounds of Monopoly, you don't get to play at all. Not only do you not get to play, you have to play on the behalf of the person that you're playing against. You have to play and make money and earn wealth for them, and then you have to turn it over to them. So then for 50 years, you finally get a little bit and you're allowed to play. And every time that they don't like the way that you're playing, or that you're catching up, or that you're doing something to be self-sufficient, they burn your game. They burn your cards. They burn your Monopoly money. And then finally at the release and the onset of that, they allow you to play and they say, okay, now you catch up. Now at this point, the only way you're going to catch up in the game is if the person shares the wealth, correct? But what if every time you share the wealth, then there's psychological warfare against you to say, oh, you're an equal opportunity hire. So if I played 400 rounds of Monopoly with you and I had to play and give you every dime that I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood, how can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the fuck do I give a shit about burning the fucking Football Hall of Fame, about burning a fucking Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give a fuck. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own by our bootstraps in Tulsa and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so fuck your Target. Fuck your Hall of Fame. As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
Alrighty, that's it for me. Stay safe out there, fight the good fight. Remember to keep well fed and watered. You need your strength. Have a wonderful night.